NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. He is Chase Sr. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at HGrahamNFL. I do a lot of NBA stuff there as well. At Chase_Senior. If you miss your question, we'll answer them over there if you message us. Pierce Homer, hashtag NBA. Shout out to Chris Thomas for the super chat, by the way. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask. Celtics trade for Vucevic for Daniel Theis, Romeo Langford, Semi Ojeleye, 2 firsts and a second. That's not far from a trade we proposed, and we can pull that one up, Sam. Pierce may not have been with us live when we put that trade idea out there. We put this idea together for the Celtics pretty close. Smart, Pritchard, Williams, and 2 firsts. Now, Smart's given up more. It's a bigger loss individually, but it's a little less volume there. I think he's actually on the right track, though. That's not a bad offer, especially with the 2 first-round picks.
I'll tell you what. If you're both teams, the Celtics and the Magic, if you put that trade proposal on the table, I think both teams look at it and they're like,
that works.
Okay, that might work for both sides.
Yep. Another Chase, I think this is Chase Sr.'s burner accounts on today's show. Who's most likely to get traded now that Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine aren't likely to be traded? Number one, I agree. I don't think either of those guys get moved. The Bulls would be crazy to move LaVine, and the Wizards are playing better. Give us a couple of names real quick. Who do you think gets moved?
So the big one for me is Vucevic out of Orlando. And last year, the Magic were a playoff team. Heading into this season, I was excited about the prospects for Orlando, but they have had to deal with a litany of injuries all across the board. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. So as you kind of reconfigure and reset if you're Orlando, what are the pluses? What are the advantages of holding on to Vucevic, who is already in his 30s by now? Trade him, get some great assets back. That's the number one name I'm looking at.
Barry Bonds hopping in on the show, hashtag NBA. Should Boston trade Kemba Walker? There's been a little chatter that this could be a possibility, Chase, and a big reason why is A, they need a big man, and B, Kemba hasn't really been the same guy for the better part of a year due to a lingering knee issue.
So you look at his numbers here, 18.5 points per game, and you say, well, Kemba Walker is doing what Kemba Walker has been doing his entire career, dating all the way back to his insane UConn days where he took UConn on that magical NCAA tournament, one of the most clutch performances of all time, right? But the numbers don't indicate what you've seen with your eyes. And Kemba Walker has not been the same player since he injured his knee last year sometime around the All-Star break. Was it in the NBA All-Star game? We're not sure. Was it just before, just after? I don't know. But in that time frame, that's when Kemba Walker injured his knee. And he hasn't been the same player since. Now, to answer that question, if you're drawing up a trade, could you trade Kemba Walker to a team like Dallas in exchange for maybe Kristaps Porzingis? Now, you might look at that and say, you're crazy. Well, Porzingis is in the same category as Kemba Walker because he's averaging like 20 and 8, but because of the physical injuries, both of those guys aren't the same players. So do you do a swap with two players who have similar injury question marks moving forward? Possibly, and Luka Doncic could really use a playmaking guard alongside him, but I think the Celtics are going to hold on to Kemba Walker. Danny Ainge did try to trade him before the season, and a lot of teams across the league were not happy about that because they knew that Kemba Walker was not right. So finding him a trade partner now could be even more difficult.
We'll see what happens with Boston. They're a team to watch at the deadline. Name a player that will get traded at the NBA trade deadline. I think Nikola Vucevic is a guy. I think Andre Drummond gets dealt. Keep an eye on Kyle Lowry as well. Get your votes in. Name a player that you think could get traded before the deadline. Dongai Zhang, what is the trade going to look like if the Rockets trade Victor Oladipo, PJ Tucker, and Eric Gordon together? First of all, I think that's very unlikely. I don't think you can trade all of them together just financially. You're going to have to find a unique partner. Maybe a three-way trade is possible. How about this? Out of those three, who do you think is most likely to get dealt?
Victor Oladipo, because he turned down a long-term extension with the Houston Rockets. And Harrison, you do make a good point there. Maybe Houston, they just decide to go with a full-on rebuild, and they do trade all three of those players, but it would have to be a 3-4 team combined trade.
Which we've seen one this year involving the Rockets already, so who knows? Who is your favorite draft prospect? The name everyone knows is Cade Cunningham, and being a Big 12 guy, I've really come to love his game. He's big, he's long, he can shoot, he's dynamic. Get your votes in. Favorite draft prospect for 2021. Subscribe to Chat Sports because the only way you can be a part of our mailbags is if A, you sub, and B, join us live every single Friday on YouTube. We go live with NBA Now with the latest news, rumors, and, of course, our famous live mailbags as well. So turn on those notifications after you subscribe, and the link is right there. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. And I'm not a pinch guy. I don't like getting pinched, so get some gear. Chatsports.com/NBA Green. Got all kinds of stuff available for all 30 NBA teams. We got hats, we got shirts, we got socks. There's some other stuff available as well. Celebrating St. Paddy's Day by repping your team. And some of the stuff is actually on sale at that link. So go to chatsports.com/NBA Green. We'll put that link in the comments. It'll be in the description. All you got to do is click and shop today. Don't get pinched on St. Patrick's Day. Steph Curry has dropped in. Appreciate it. Marcus Smart for Kelly Oubre and a second. I don't say yes to that if I'm Boston, right? Like you're giving up Smart for Oubre? Second-round picks aren't worth anything in the NBA. I'm keeping Marcus Smart, right?
So if you're the Boston Celtics, Marcus Smart has been the heartbeat of that team. And I guess what you lose defensively by trading Marcus Smart, you gain offensively for Kelly Oubre. But if you're Danny Ainge and you look at this trade and you ask yourself, okay, do we get better because we're trying to improve because we've been lackluster this year by trading Marcus Smart for Kelly Oubre? I know Kelly Oubre has been better the last couple of weeks, but the answer to that question is no. So I would not do that trade.
I agree. We'll go to Robert Bruce here. Do you think the Celtics still go after Myles Turner and Greg McDermott?
So we talked about Vucevic as being the prime trade candidate for the Boston Celtics. That's going to take a haul. And does Boston have the assets to give up? Because of that $28 million trade exception, they can get a player realistically back like Vucevic. But if they don't want to part with a package that might include Peyton Pritchard and Marcus Smart, maybe they do go to that second tier and they try to target a player like Myles Turner. Greg McDermott on the other side, he'll give you a shooter off the bench, but that is not a need for the Boston Celtics. They need some front court players and some dynamic ones at that.